Today on the Self-Centered and Self-Indulgent Says podcast, I am going to be discussing my takeaways and what I learned over 2023 and what my plans are for 2024. So stick around. Done with sheet 1, we are already going off outline. Happy New Year! Congratulations, you made it through 2023. You know what? Nobody said we could do it. Nobody believed in us, but gol darn it, we did it. We survived another year. Here we are in 2024 with our middle fingers to the past, with our middle fingers to all of the naysayers who say, 2023, you won't survive that. I don't know who said that, but heck them. Heck them in the stupid face. Anyway, what are we starting with? My takeaways. What I learned from 2023. Number 1, simplify your belongings. This comes down to having the tools that you use, having what you need, and reducing the excess, reducing the unnecessary decisions. So for me, that means having a set everyday carry, having one knife, having one flashlight, having one pen, one wallet, having a simple wardrobe, knowing here are your pants, here are your jeans, here are your shoes, here are your shirts. You don't have to worry about it. There's nothing on the shirts. The jeans are plain. There's nothing fancy on them. Grab a pair, grab a shirt. You're out the door. You're good to go. You don't have to worry about it. I know a lot of people have heard about this type of approach from a lot of the tech billionaires. I think it was Steve Jobs who popularized it. He would have the black turtleneck, the jeans and the New Balance. Mark Zuckerberg with his fancy custom-made t-shirts and jeans. They do it because they are billionaires. Their time is valuable. My time is not. So I am not doing it because I think the 30 seconds or 1 minute or 5 minutes that I'm saving is going to save me thousands of dollars. It may save me a nickel, may save me $1 or $2, but am I really going to be effective and productive for those extra 30 seconds to justify it? No. If we're being realistic, no, I am not. So that is not why I am doing it. I am doing it because in the morning when I wake up, I'm groggy, I'm not all there, and it's removing one decision that I have to make. I don't have to look at 5 different pocket knives and say, what pocket knife do I want to use today? I know, I just have the one. Well, I have others, but they're all stored away. Because this is the one that I carry. I carried it pretty much every single day over the last year. Same with the flashlight, same with the wallet, same with the handkerchief. The pen changed a couple of times, but for the most part, it removes that decision paralysis. And that gives me a bit of peace, knowing that I am not going to mistakenly take the wrong thing with me. I know the stuff that I have is going to function in pretty much every single environment that I am in. I know the clothes that I wear are not going to draw too much attention to me, negative or positive. I am the ultimate gray man. Oh, look, another guy wearing Levi's and a black t-shirt. He's doing well. Let's pay attention to him and follow him. Oh, he's driving that car? What a loser. I'm doing it for all of those reasons. Peace of mind, removing another decision from my day, and that just gives me a bit of peace. Number 2 kind of goes in line with that. It may be the next logical step in simplifying your belongings, but finding joy in simple living. Not always seeking the greatest, not always seeking the most bombastic, not looking to go on vacations all the time and keep up with the Joneses, but instead enjoy what you have and enjoy the life that you live. So when I wake up in the morning, I could curse and moan, heckin' shooting butts and stuff, I don't get to go get a Starbucks coffee. I don't spend $7 a day getting a coffee that tastes like ice cream. I hate my life. Instead, I make my 25, 30, 40-cent cup of coffee in my drip coffee brewer. I know all the coffee heads are cringing. Yes, it burns the coffee even as it's sitting in the carafe. I don't care. Me whispering, that's how little I care. That's one instance where I whispered and said, okay, that's actually a good justification. Most of the time I say, why did I whisper that? I don't know. In that case, I care so little. I don't even want to project. I don't care at all. I make my 40-cent cup of coffee. And I enjoy it. There have been multiple occasions over the last year where I take a sip of my coffee with a tablespoon of half and half and a half teaspoon of sweetener. And I say, it shouldn't be this good. This is so good. I find joy in enjoying a boring cup of coffee that I made at home. Finding the joy in the simple things. Going for a walk, I talked about this during the year. I was listening to some pop punk music. I think it was pop punk. I was going for a walk. It was the middle of summer, so it was hot, but it was overcast. There were clouds coming over the mountain, and I just had the dumbest grin come across my face. It was this moment to sound like a total hippie. They should lock me up. I'm gonna start wearing patchouli. a moment of pure joy. Just, this is peace. I am walking in asphalt. I'm not surrounded by a bunch of homeless people yelling and hissing at me, which, yes, did happen this year. A homeless person or a drug addict with a big metal pole ran across the street and started hissing at me. That didn't happen this day. And I was just thrilled. I was perfectly content. That's how I would put it. Also, listening to a good piece of music. Finding something that you may like on Listen One, that's great. Finding something that might challenge you, that you have to revisit a couple of times, even better because you have a deeper appreciation for that music. Just sitting down and listening to that music, or if you're out for a walk, enjoying that music while enjoying what's going on around you, while appreciating what's going on around you. Finding joy in that, or a simple meal of eggs and an English muffin. There have been many a time where I yell, it shouldn't be this good. It's 2 eggs, especially I make them in the microwave. I know every single foodie out there, by the way, no, I'm not gonna degrade foodies, but I know every single foodie just cringed themselves to death. I cook eggs in the microwave because I'm so gosh darn lazy. The reason I'm pointing that out, it is not fine dining. It's 2 eggs, a buttered whole wheat English muffin, and a cup of coffee. I don't think there's much better. And I could be moaning about the fact that I'm not eating a steak. That I see people posting fancy $25, $50 meals on their Instagrams. I could be complaining, why do they get to do that and I don't? But instead, I have found joy in, I'm getting pretty good at microwaving these eggs. I'm getting pretty good at drip brewing that coffee. And it's a nice way to start the day. And then I guess the final takeaway for me, the final thing that I learned was to really focus on frugality. And this really is the next logical stepping point from these first 2. It would be easy to look at the value of the US dollar and just scream about it. Just get furious and angry about all of the contributing factors that are out of your control, where you see people being irresponsible leading to it. it would be very easy and justifiable to be angry about it. But instead, I found the fun in trying to locate where and how I could save money. I made it into a game to challenge myself in to live as monastic a life as I could. Was that a proper sentence? I liked challenging myself to live monastically. That's what I mean. To live a bit uncomfortably, to live well below my means. Yes, I could afford to go out and get a meal every single night of the week. Am I going to do it? No. Instead, I'm going to have 2 eggs for breakfast and an English muffin and a cup of coffee that I brewed. I'm going to have trail mix and an apple for lunch and then chicken and vegetables for dinner. Does it get boring? Sure. If you're looking for excitement out of your food, if you are looking to live through what you eat, and many people do, and if that is your choice, more power to you. But I found joy in the simplicity out of the monastic way, the monk-like way of chicken and vegetables and brown rice. Okay. And after a while, it gets pretty darn good. Challenging yourself to find alternatives to stuff as it gets too expensive. I used to get bacon. Instead of bacon, it got too expensive. I switched to eggs. Instead of going out to eat, I make all of my food at home. I make my coffee at home. Instead of subscribing to subscription service XYZ for video, TV show, music, TRS, I'm going to enjoy the stuff that I already own. Some of it I bought because I actually like it, and I will enjoy that. I want to have that CD that I have listened to 50 times, 100 times. I want that collection of movies that I have enjoyed dozens of times. So instead of subscribing to all of these services and having access to all of the content that has ever been created, enjoy what you have. And that is extended outside of just content to everything else that I have, my everyday carry stuff, my watches, my clothes, my water bottle, the stuff that I own. I could be looking to upgrade. I could be thinking, gosh, this isn't as good as what other people have, but instead, I have come to appreciate the fact that I am even able to have something as nice as what I have. It may not be the best. People may have better. Who cares? Who cares? Appreciate what you have. And that was a huge takeaway for me. Frugality. I know we kind of took a detour there, but frugality. Finding ways to save money, challenging yourself to find alternatives when stuff gets too expensive, and enjoying it. Instead of moaning about it and finding the negative in it, make it a game, challenge yourself. And maybe it's just, maybe I'm just in denial. Maybe that's what it is. I can't afford what I used to. Oh no! What's happening to the economy? Maybe I'm in denial. I don't know. Psychiatrists out there, am I in denial? Or am I just viewing things through a healthy lens? Am I coping? Is this the big cope? Leave your comments. Cope! I don't have this on the paper, but I will add this in. Health. Take care of yourself. This is something that I am so happy I made the decision to do. A couple of years ago, I made the decision to start walking every single day, to start eating a bit healthier, and it has paid off over the last couple of years. I feel better than I have ever felt in my entire life. That wasn't even the initial intention. It was, I need to get out of my home for a little bit because I am going stir crazy. I'm losing my mind walking from my bed to work to studio to bed. It was solely to get out from this prison that I am in. And then it turned into, okay, I'm going to keep doing it. I just felt like walking. And then I realized, I'm walking a lot. Why am I not losing weight? I logged that's why. Because I eat like garbage. And when I made that shift as well, I started feeling better. But the reason why I'm bringing this up, had I not made that decision, had I not made that change in my lifestyle, when I got sick this year, when I caught COVID finally, I don't know if it would have gone over so easily. I was pretty sick for a month. I think I missed a month of videos. But I would have had what they call comorbidities had I not made these lifestyle changes, because I was severely overweight before. I was not healthy in any way, shape, or form. And if I were to have gotten sick back then, or if I was still living the way that I did and I got sick, I don't think I would have beat it as easily as I did. So just the fact that I was fortunate enough to have made that decision and stuck to it. I'm stubborn enough to stick to it and do what I don't want to do. Most of the days, I do not want to go for a walk. I do not want to do 150 I don't want to do the push-ups, but I do it. And I think that builds character, doing something that you don't want to, because you're prioritizing your health and your future self as opposed to the instant gratification. And that's something that a lot of my generation, myself included for many years, did. Just instant gratification. I want to eat this. I'm going to eat this. Who cares what impact it will have? I want this fancy item. I'm going to buy it. I don't care if I have the money. I will put it on a credit card. I want that luxury car. I don't care if I can afford it. I want that 7-bedroom home. I don't care if I can afford the mortgage. I'm going to get it. So by making that shift, I know I went off topic again into finances, but it's that instant gratification mindset. And I don't know how I was able to shift it, but I did. And because I made that shift, I was able to get healthier, and I am very grateful for that. And I refuse to go back to that way. That's why I am including it. It was such a big life change for me. And seeing the benefit and feeling the benefit is the lesson that I learned this year. So those are my takeaways. That is what I learned this year. Let's analyze last year as well and see what a huge, massive bummer of a failure I was. First, let's talk about how much of that tent that I slang. I don't think anybody got what I meant. I was slinging that tent. That's a Scott Aukerman, a Hot Saucerman reference. Slinging that content. I published a lot of content is what I published 48 videos on Podcastage. On Podcastage 2, which I had no intention of publishing to, I published 30 videos. On this channel, the Bandrew Says podcast, I published 41 videos. On Watchcastage, on my Watch channel, 17 videos. Bandrew Scott, 5 videos. Bandrew Plays, 3 videos. What does that give us? A grand total of 144 videos over 2023. Before I started recording, I opened up Calculator on my computer. I did the math. That means I published a video every 2.5347222 days. So about every 2.5 days, I published a video. It does not feel like that. I did not think that I made that much content, and I even missed a month of videos. But that is pretty incredible. That's a lot of videos. And I'll share what my favorites are on each of my channels in a little bit. But I actually set goals for myself because I did not have any numerical goals. I didn't say, publish this many videos, reach this many subs. I don't care about that anymore. I stopped looking at that. Goal 1, release a video series that I have been working on. Sheet 2 is done. I failed at this miserably. Absolutely failed because I did not publish a single video in the series that I want to make. The reason for this, the scope was too grand. I don't mean the topics that I wanted to cover were too grand, but my expectation of what I needed to accomplish before I started work on production was too grand. I wanted all of the outlines to be complete for every single video. I wanted to be able to film an intro for every single video and have this schedule lined up. Okay, new episode of this series on this day, this day, this day, this day. That's too grand of a scope for my single-man production. When this is a side hustle, this is a hobby for me. This is not a paid course that I am making. This is something that I would be publishing for free. So instead of adopting that approach of this needs to be perfect, this needs to mimic a paid course, I should be approaching it as, okay, this is the topic of this video. Let's make it to the best of our ability. If you forget something, if somebody asks a good question, make a heckin' follow-up, dude. You don't need to have every single question answered before you publish anything. Cool your jets. Cool your tits, dude. Doesn't need to be perfect. So I failed at that. Stamp it. Failure. Goal number 2, be more spontaneous. I would say I accomplished this. I succeeded at this. Gonna give myself a pat on the back of the neck. I hurt my shoulder. I can't really give myself a pat on the back. But I was much more spontaneous this year. At the start, I was still using my note cards, throwing them at you, doing all the fun stuff, going off script, going off outline, just not giving a hoot, just having a blast. On the Watch channel, that's where I really let loose and just started goofing off like a mofo. And I'll explain why and how and what my favorite video is because of that. But I got very spontaneous, a lot looser this year, and it was so much fun. However, I did get sick. I missed a month. I did not want to start making videos again because I had taken so much time off resting. I was out of practice. So in order to get back into producing content, I just fell into old habits. I stopped being as spontaneous. I stopped having as much fun. I wanted stuff to be as polished and perfect as it had been prior. So I let go of the idea of spontaneity and fell back into being more structured, fell back into being a bit more routine. Stamp it. Wait, no, I said success. I don't know. Is it a success or fail? I don't know. It's something. Stamp it. Something. Goal number 3, record outside of the studio more, is what I wrote last year, and then I crossed out more in the episode because I rewatched it to know what I said. Because I never recorded outside of the studio. I'm going to say stamp it. Failure. I did not record any content outside of the studio if we exclude some skits, some sketches, some bits that I recorded with Alan, with sound speeds. Outside of that, I didn't do anything outside of the studio. The reason I wanted to record outside of the studio was to spur on some new creativity, because getting into a new environment can help spark that. When I recorded in my living room in 2021, was it? Was it really that long ago? 22. I felt a completely different vibe for recording. So that's why I wanted to do it, and I failed. So there you go. Big ol' failure, Bandrew. Gosh, what an idiot. How about my personal goals? Did I hit any of those? My personal goal was to listen to 52 albums. I hit this by the 15th of February, and then I stopped keeping track. I did real good here. I reconnected a lot to music, listened to a lot more music. I didn't stick with the whole listening to entire albums thing. I did revert back to listening to a lot of playlists, listening to 80s playlists, listening to pop punk playlists, listening to ska playlists. Because I listen to those playlists, I find some new music. And I enjoy that, as opposed to just listening to the same stuff over and over again. But I would say I definitely reconnected to music this year. And it should be reflected in the music that I write for my reviews. It has changed, I would say, quite a bit. A lot of the chords and the harmonies are very similar. The melodies are still very simple, but the arrangements, the decisions that I have made in terms of how to actually record the two different guitar parts, I would say has shifted quite a bit. And that is because of the music that I have been listening to. I also said read 12 books. Failure. I only read 7. And I think 4 of those were Goosebumps books. Because I am a child. I am a midwit. My brain is stupid. I read Goosebumps as a man at my age. How embarrassing. What's more embarrassing is that I just said how embarrassing. I don't even remember what that's from. I don't know. That may be from my life. That may be something that somebody said. How embarrassing. But it sounds like it's from a movie. Who knows? I did accomplish a couple of things with the book reading, though. Book reading! I'm good at book reading! I finally read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, something that I have never done. The 2005 movie is one of my all-time favorites. Never read the book. Finally did, and it made me laugh out loud multiple times. I'm going to go out on a limb and say Marvin the Paranoid Android may be one of the greatest science fiction robots of all time. Absolutely hilarious. I think you ought to know I'm feeling very depressed today. That was my Alan Rickman. Rest in peace, and sorry for that, Alan. Then I started reading the Lord of the Rings trilogy. I got through Fellowship of the Rings and Two Towers. I am working on Return of the King. I have not read a page of that in months because I am stupid. And I have just been very distracted. I will finish that book this year. That's my goal. Finish half of a book in 12 months. Can I do it? Probably not. And the final goal that I had was walk 500 miles, include the jokes, walk 500 more, and I'm not going to sing it because I will get copyright struck, claimed, and taken down. I am going to say it. I nailed it. I knocked this one out of the park. Not only did I walk 500 miles, not only did I walk 500 more, I walked 500 on top of that. 1,516 miles is what I walked this year. I don't mean counting steps throughout the day. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't know how many miles I walked if I were to account for that because I don't wear my smartwatch or carry my phone most of the time. I mean dedicated time going out to listen to podcasts, to listen to music while I walk for an hour to hour and a half almost every single day. 1,516 miles. Around November, I thought, am I going to hit 1,500 miles? That'd be crazy. I didn't think I was going to. But when I was on vacation, I would put in 4 miles a day still, even on vacation. Because not a chance in heck was I going to miss that. Because I don't think I'm ever going to get that high again. 1,500's quite a bit. And the only reason I hit that is because I was competing with a family member early in the year, and I wanted to demoralize them so much that I was walking 6 miles a day. Now I'm back down to 4 miles a day. So those are my personal goals. 66.6% success rate. I'd say that's pretty good, minus the fact that it's the devil's number. But those are the goals. let's talk about my favorite videos that I made over the last year. So if you didn't watch any of my content, if you don't care about my content, if you just want a greatest hits, kind of presumptuous, kind of arrogant to to call them your greatest hits, this is what I would suggest. For podcastage, Presonus Tube Pre V2 review/test. I discussed this on a live stream with Dark Corner Studios and Bark from Obscure Mics. The reason this was my favorite is I was getting a lot more comfortable with reviewing preamps, understanding what may be useful for people to understand, and it led me to writing some really fun music. I like the music that I wrote in both of my preamp reviews, the Behringer one and the Presonus. But because I was so comfortable with the format, it kind of gave me permission to go ahead and make plans to review all the other really cool preamps that I have. And in order to assist with that, I picked up a nice piece of outboard analog gear. As my mouth gets very clicky and disgusting there, I am so sorry about that. I'm going to vomit. But I got a nice piece of analog synthesizer gear to test out preamps with. I think it would be classified as synthesizer. It's a drum machine. It's an analog drum machine that I'm going to use, so I don't have to route Logic Pro out through an interface into an input on the preamp. I am very excited about that. It's going to be so much fun. That's video 1. Podcastage 2, my favorite video is the Neumann, hello Neumann, BCM-705 versus 13 microphones. It's not because I think this is my best video. I didn't have a particularly good time. It wasn't necessarily humorous or anything. It's just the culmination of years of work, I guess. That may be a bit lofty. I got the BCM-705 years ago because there was one video on it, and I wanted to give people a review with a bunch of tests. When I made the review of the Neumann, hello Neumann, BCM-705, I was not doing the comparison section. So it lacked, I almost said lactated, it lactated the comparison, the context of how it stacks up and how it compares to all of the other mics that it is competing with. So this year, I finally got around to doing it, and it just ended up to be 13 mics, and I am very happy that I eventually got around to doing that, because that video still didn't exist. There's still not many videos covering that microphone, and that leads me to believe that when somebody's searching for that, that comparison video will be beneficial. It will help them. Then we get to the podcast. My favorite episode was BSP-374. I did not write down the title of the episode. It just says BSP-3. I don't know what the heck that is. I think it was replacing smartphone with single-use items. And this goes back to this journey that I have been on to be more intentional with how I spend my day, with the items that I use, and trying to eliminate distraction and avoid addictive tendencies. I'll put it that way. If I were to be recording a voice memo, it would be very easy to pick up a cell phone, open up the voice memo app, and record there. That's very convenient. But while you're on the phone, you may see a notification that you have an email, that there's a new YouTube video, that somebody tweeted at you, that you have a new text. And now, when you open up your phone to record a voice memo, you've wasted 5 or 10 minutes just goofing off. So in that podcast episode, I discussed this, I guess, goal or habit or practice is what I should call it, of replacing the cell phone with single-use items. What I am holding up is a Sony voice recorder. So instead of using the voice memo app on my phone, which I still will occasionally do, I'll set this up, record for 30 minutes, just playing the guitar, singing stupid songs, trying to come up with something for a review, trying to come up with a chimey lead part in a different key. So I enjoy that so much more because it allows me to be more productive and it reduces the distractions in my life. And that is why that was such an important episode for me and why it is one of my favorite. I covered a lot of topics that I am really passionate about this year. So if you want to go back and listen to episodes this year, I would say there's some good stuff in there. Some topics that aren't just tech related, are not just content creator related. I would say they are life related. And I learned a lot this year, and I would like to think that I grew a lot and matured a lot. I know many people would disagree with that statement. Number 2, I have a second video here for the Bob Says Podcast. The Bob Says Podcast, episode 360. I am including this simply for the introduction. I watched a number of seasons of the Red Dwarf TV show this year, and I loved the first couple of seasons. One of my favorite characters, if not my favorite, is Holly from season 1. And the introduction for BSP-360 is mimicking the introduction for the season 1 of Red Dwarf. So if you haven't seen that, go watch that. It's a fun one. Then on to my personal channel, Bandrew Scott. 5 videos this year. 4 of them were reading Grimm's fairy tales. Maybe in 10 years, I will finish reading all of those. I'm not going to pick any of those. I did one video that was not reading a Grimm's fairy tale. It is how I carry my EDC. How I carry my everyday carry. I know. It was an excuse to use a lav mic and to see how a budget lav mic can sound, because I just realized why I did that. I had a plan on making a video about affordable gear being enough, and I wanted to have content out there using each of these affordable options. So I rushed that video out, and then I ended up not making that video on my main channel. Whoops. But I thought it was fun. It was a fun video. Yes, it was an excuse to test something. And no, nobody was asking for it. That was... I saw people asking the question in other people's comments. I guess it's a bit presumptuous to say. I'll answer that. Yeah, that's exactly what I did. And then we have Wathcasted. There should be a C there. Wathcastage. It should be Watchcastage. My favorite video there was titled 1990s Dad Watch. This was a wearing experience video of the Casio A168, which is a digital watch. I don't know if it came out in the 90s, but it feels like a 1990s dad watch because at least its predecessors have been available for decades. The A168 just is a little bit thicker and it has a better backlight. I think it uses the electroluminescent display as opposed to the micro LED that is on the Casio F91W, which is garbage. So you can actually read this thing at night. The reason that's my favorite, the battery died on my second camera. That's unfortunate. The reason that one was so important for me, or why that's my favorite, is I had not really understood or found my own voice in the watch review game, in the watch coverage game. And in that episode, I turned into Sean Connery, but I also realized I don't need to mimic what everybody else is doing. I just need to share my experience and make the video that I want to make. So instead of trying to make videos that fit the mold of what everybody else was making. I just let loose, goofed off, and made the video that gave me the information I wanted, but also gave me a laugh. And going forward from that, most of my other watch coverage videos, wearing experience videos, followed that same format. I am going to be taking a step back from producing much content on that channel, but when I do get back into it, because I'm not quitting that channel, I will be doing videos on there again. When I get back into it, I am going to keep up that format because it makes it so much more fun for me, makes it less stressful, makes me think I can have a bit more fun here. I don't need to be so straight-laced. I don't need to be so buttoned up. I don't need to have such perfect pronunciation. I don't need to be a perfect presenter. I can goof off and have fun because I have this channel because it's a fun hobby for me. So stop trying to be somebody else, you dope. And that video made me realize that. So go watch that if you want to see me as a 1990s dad. I'm going to change the battery in that so we can have B-roll again. Hi, B-roll camera. You are back up and running, fully charged, and now the edits will be seamless. You can't tell if I edit now. Joke's on you, sucker. Gotcha. I'm hiding all the edits because I am so incompetent. Let's jump to my goals for 2024, and this is going to be my content goals. Number 1, I still want to work on the series that I referenced last year. It's going to be a multiple-part series, but as I already discussed, I need to change the scope or the expectations that I have for it. Instead of focusing on having an entire content strategy or outline strategy or script for 8 to 10 to 12 videos, instead of that, I just need to look at video 1 and say, make the damn video. Make the damn video, make the outline, make it to the best of your ability. If something comes up, if you forget something, if somebody asks a question and you need to answer it, make a follow-up video, dude. It doesn't need to be perfect. So it's not necessarily abandoning the idea of perfection. It is abandoning the idea of preemptively answering every single question that might come up. Because no matter how much preparation you do, no matter how much reading you do, you're never going to think of every single question that somebody will have. And that's something that I have tried to do with my tutorial videos. I try to make them as thorough as possible. I try to preemptively answer questions that I think people will have. And I have been kind of effective at that. But I don't need to have that same approach for every single tutorial. That's goal number 1. I only have one other goal. I want to focus on being a better presenter behind the scenes, which sounds contradictory because to present, it is not behind the scenes, it is in front of the camera or in front of the microphone. What I mean, or how I mean, is I want to be better at presenting so that I don't have to edit so much. I want to be able to sit down in front of a microphone, be loose enough, be spontaneous enough that I am okay making a couple mistakes here and there, knowing that I am able to steer the ship well enough that I don't go off topic too far. And if I do, I can weave it into the main story of the content because that's what's required on YouTube. Here's your cold open. Here's your storyline. Let's go ahead and go through it. Can you tell I kind of resent the entire idea that every single YouTube video needs to be a polished story? But I should be able to stay on topic, is what I'm trying to say. The difficult aspect of this for me is going to be being looser while still appreciating or respecting people's time. Because I know I do get sidetracked. I know I do go on tangents and detours. And that's fun. That can be fun. There can be a lot of entertainment and a lot of information in those tangents. But at the same time, if somebody is coming to a video because I promised a discussion of 4 tips for frugal living, and then I spend 30 minutes talking about why you should invest in Pokemon cards, that's a bait and switch. That's clickbait. That's bullcrap. That is not respecting that individual's time. And if somebody is clicking on my video and giving me their time out of their day, I ought to respect that. So finding that balance is going to be difficult, but I am going to do my best because, excuse me, as I cough, my throat is going. Perfect example of editing. I just took a water break. I edited that out to save your time because I appreciate it. But I do want to do that. I want to be looser. I want to be more spontaneous, more fun, have a few more tangents, get a bit goofier, but still respect your time. Those are my only real content creation goals. I don't care about the numbers. I'm not going to set any subscriber goals, any view goals. At the end of last year, I did say, let's try to hit 10,000 on the BSP channel. We did not do that. I think we're at 9,910, so still pretty close, but we did not hit 10K. No big deal, because it doesn't matter. In the long term, in the short term, in any term really, it doesn't matter. So let's talk about my personal goals now. We are done with all of that stuff. Let's get more self-centered, more self-serving, and discuss my personal goals. I already shared how I fared with last year's goals in terms of albums, in terms of books, and in terms of walking. So this year, I set the goal to walk 1,000 miles. I should be able to do that. Fingers crossed, I am able to do that. Maybe I will be fortunate enough to be able to walk a few extra miles here and there and hit 1,500 again. But that's not my goal. Because last year I only set 500. Why not double it? 1,000 miles is a lot. The next one is going to be so hard for me. Downsizing movies and music collection to what I actually enjoy. As I mentioned in a recent episode, my collection of movies and music is less of a collection and more of a hoarding situation. Because it's not a collection of just stuff that I enjoy. It's a collection of stuff, or it is a hodgepodge of stuff that I think, yeah, I may want to watch that one day. Yeah, that's $10 and renting it would be $4. Might as well spend the extra $6. That's not a collection. That's just nonsense. That's chaos. That's entropy. So what I want to do this year, which I have already started doing, is downsizing my movie and music collection and moving it on. Trying to sell it on eBay, get rid of the stuff that I don't want. And if I can't sell it on eBay, go ahead and donate it to a library. And then what I ought to be left with is a collection of movies and music that I actually want to watch and listen to. I should be able to say, that Blu-ray, that UHD, that DVD, I have watched that every year for the last 10 years. That's why I own it. That CD, I have listened to that 5,000 times. That may be an exaggeration, but you get the point. I want to have stuff that actually reflects my opinion, reflects my tastes, reflects what I enjoy, as opposed to just, that's what I bought because I may have wanted to watch it one time and I have zero desire to ever watch again. This is going to give me multiple benefits. Not only will it declutter, which is the reason that I gave before, but by selling it, it's going to give me fiscal benefits. It will loosen up. It will free up a bit of that capital that is just sitting in physical media that I have no desire to watch again because past Bandrew sucks and thought, most disturbing movies ever? Yeah, I'll buy all those. What a dumb idea that was. Something else that's going to be very painful, it's piggybacking off of that. I'm going to downsize my watch collection. I shouldn't say my watch collection because my watch collection, my personal watch collection is 4 or 5 watches. All the other watches I have were bought solely for the purpose of my channel. but I am going to start moving those watches on, which sucks. It's going to be painful. But I came to the realization the watch channel is not podcastage. You do not need to keep every single watch that you review like you do with microphones. With microphones, there's a benefit to be had of having, here's microphone A, here's microphone B, back to back to back to back, recorded same time, same day, same space, same environment. But when it comes to wristwatches, you don't need that. Also, my wristwatch channel is a lot smaller than podcastage, so I should not have that much capital tied up in wristwatches just sitting there for the sake of maybe one day wanting to show it on camera again. That is stupid. So I am going to be doing that. This next one is going to be big for me, if I can actually do it. Write music outside of my review videos, because over the last couple of years, all I have really done in terms of writing music, it has been creatively fulfilling, but it has just been writing music to record demos for my review videos. The reason I started doing that, actually, I don't know if I've ever discussed this. I started making my own review songs, not because I thought, oh, this is a great creative outlet. It was, this will keep me from getting copyright claimed and having all of my revenue stolen. And it just so happened to become this really enjoyable creative outlet. So that's why I started doing the review songs that I write, yet I find more enjoyment and fulfillment out of them now. But I wasn't planning on saying this, but hey, I'll say it, I'll put it out there. Don't hold my feet to the fire. I will put out a 3-song EP this year. I'll put it out under Must Love Karate, my awesome band name. I'll tell you the history of the name, Must Love Karate. I thought, if Dwight Schrute from The Office had a band, what would he call it? Must Love Karate. That just seems like a Dwight Schrute band name. That's how I came up with that. And perhaps I will use the new analog drum synth as inspiration. 3 songs. I could probably use a couple of ideas from my reviews because I have received some very positive feedback on a number of those. I may do that. I'm excited to do that. That'll be a lot of fun. Then I am carrying on a few of my goals from last year. Do not buy any new everyday carry gear, and do not buy any new fragrances. That shouldn't be too difficult. I did cheat a little bit. I got gift cards. I got some cash as a gift, and I used that to buy a fragrance and a wallet. I know I technically cheated, so I am expanding it for another year as punishment. I repent. I repent. Forgive me for my sins and my failures. And then the last one. This is going to be the most painful for me. Do not buy any watches. This is going to suck so bad. On January 1st, I was already looking at watches thinking, oh yeah, that would be fun to wear. That would be fun to review. Nope. No watches for an entire year. So not only am I downsizing my collection, I am not going to buy a single watch for the next, well, not 365 days anymore, but 366 it would be, because this is a leap year, actually. No new watches this year. And then when I am able to buy a watch again, it's going to be for a very, very special occasion. And it may be the watch I wear for the rest of my life. Maybe. We'll see. It's a big moment for me. So that is it for my personal goals. I'll share that with you next year when the time comes around. I'm sure it'll be an emotional episode because, gosh, there's nothing I love more than getting emotional on camera. But that is it. I also added this, learn to speak properly, because I tried to record and couldn't get through a single thing. And I wrote that in Sharpie. Those are all my notes. That is the episode. We're not doing Ask Bandrew. We're not doing what you had to say. I do have some super thanks. I'm not pulling them today. I will capture your super thanks on next week's episode. Thank you so much for coming by this week. Thank you for sticking with me through this very self-centered episode. I hope you had an amazing and safe new year. This camera's about to die, so let's go ahead. Hang on. This is the spontaneity that I'm talking about. B-roll camera, this is for you. I hope you had an amazing new year. I hope that 2024 is prosperous. I hope that you become a billionaire. I hope that work is fulfilling. Your love life is sane, safe, enjoyable, unstressful, and rewarding, and all the other good things that might be offered to you. Thank you so much for coming by this week. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I will talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Whoa, whoa. Boop.
This has been a Geeks Rising production. Your executive producer is Bandrew Scott. For more information, head over to www.geeksrising.com.